I'm back with one more lesson from grade 9th English, and today we are going to continue the last lecture that we have taken. Okay, the story that we were reading was the bond of love. Okay, I have already explained you that which kind of bond the author is talking here. The bond that is between a human and animal. Okay, the pet, the love between pet and his human. I don't like calling it owner or someone. The pet and his human. Okay, the animal and his human. So here in the story, who was the pet? Bruno. Okay, who is also known as Baba. Okay, Baba, kid in Hindi. Okay, so this story is about the bond of love between Bruno, Baba, and author's wife. Okay, author's wife. So by far we have seen that how Bruno came to the family. How author, who was a very vivid traveler, he loved traveling here and there. So on one of his trip to where? His trip to where? Mysore. To his trip, he got Bruno, and he found that one bear was there and hunting was going on. The travelers, the author's friend, who was his companion in the trip, he shot one big sloth bear. Okay, black bear got killed, and it was found that that bear was carrying a baby bear. Okay, the narrator got emotional and he got the baby bear back home, and the author's wife, she loved Bruno and she took care of Bruno, and years went and 2 years went and Bruno became big, and there were a lot of Alsatian dogs also in the house whom Bruno played with, and later on the camaraderie between Bruno and the wife of the author became so strong. But there were tenants in the house. What do you understand by tenants? Tenants are kiraedar, okay, the one who is living on rent. So the tenants' kids were there who got afraid of Bruno that he might hurt them. Then it was decided by the author and his friends and everyone around that Bruno to be sent back to the zoo. Okay, so Bruno was sent back to the zoo. This much we have got. The wife, author's wife, she firstly she didn't agree, but then later on she agreed, and a letter was sent to the curator of the zoo. Okay, curator of the zoo, and Bruno was in a cage sent back. So this is what we have learned in the part 1. Now we are going to see that how Baba got back to the zoo and what happened later on. So we are going to read the second half, and you are going to do the question answers that I am going to provide you. Stay tuned and watch the video entirely so that all the doubts are clear.
Okay, so till the previous chapter we have seen that Baba was packed off. Okay, so Baba was taken away in the carrier and he was taken back to the zoo. How Baba was got, I have already explained, and now we have seen that Baba was carried away from the author's wife. We all missed him greatly, but in a sense we were relieved. Who says this? The author. He says that we were missing him very much, but we were relieved also. We were having a sense of relief that now Baba is in the right place where he should be. My wife was inconsolable. Inconsolable means she was very upset and she was not listening to anyone. She wept and fretted. Okay, she was weeping, she was crying. For the first few days, she would not eat a thing. She was on a hunger strike. She left eating food because she was very upset that where Baba is and how he must be living and how he was being taken care of. All these things were coming to her mind. Then she wrote a number of letters to the curator. Okay, the curator we have already seen, the in charge of the zoo. How was Baba? Back came the replies, well, but fretting. He refuses food too. Okay, so she wrote a number of letters to the curator of the zoo and she asked that how Baba is. So the replies that came that he is fretting. Fretting means very unhappy. Okay, same as the author's wife, she was very upset. She was also fretting, and Baba was also fretting, and he was also refusing food. Same as author's wife. After that, friends visiting Mysore were back to make a point of going to the zoo and seeing how Baba was getting along. So, after this, everyone decided, the friends of author and every relative, everyone decided that whoever will go to Mysore will always visit the zoo and will try to meet Baba and see that how he is living there. They reported that he was well but looked very thin and sad. Thin because he was not eating, sad because he was apart from the author's wife. Okay, so everyone reported it back that he is well, he is relaxed, but he is very thin. They repeated that he was well, but looked very thin and sad. All the keepers at the zoo said he was fretting. Okay, he was very unhappy. For 3 months, I managed to restrain my wife from visiting Mysore. So, for the first 3 months, author somehow stopped his wife from going to Mysore because he was thinking that if she will go there, she will want Baba back. Then she said one day, I must see Baba. Either you take me by car or I will go myself by bus or train. So I took her by car. So one day the author's wife became very adamant and she said that, okay, if you are not taking me there, I will go on my own. So better you must take me. So the author had no choice and he took his wife by his car to Mysore. Friends had conjectured that the bear would not recognize her. Okay, friends were saying that bear, the Baba will not be able to recognize her. I had thought so too. Okay, the author was also thinking the same, that how can an animal still have the memory of the human. But while she was yet some yards from his cage, okay, while she was only a yards away from his cage, Baba saw her and recognized her. Okay, she was at a distance, yet some yards means she was not very close to the zoo, not very close to the cage where Baba was kept, but still Baba from far recognized her. He howled with happiness. Howling, you all know what dogs and all wolves and bears do. He howled with happiness. She ran up to him, patted him through the bars, and he stood on his head in delight. Okay, so she patted him through the bars and from the cage, and he stood with delight, with happiness. So see how Baba was still having the memories of his owner, and he was still thinking that he was in a way he recognized her. For the next 3 hours she would not leave that cage. Okay, 3 hours passed and she was still there. She gave him tea, lemonade, cakes, ice cream, and whatnot. Everything she had brought for sorry, everything that she had brought for him, she gave it to him, and Baba also ate it very lovingly. Then closing time came. We had to leave. Okay, the author says that they had to leave because the closing time of the zoo was near. My wife cried bitterly. Okay, very much. She cried very heavily. She cried. She was not in the mood of leaving Baba. Baba cried bitterly too. Okay, Baba was also crying a lot. Even the hardened curator and the keepers, okay, even very the hard task curators and the keepers of the zoo were feeling depressed. As for me, I had reconciled myself to what I knew was going to happen next. Okay, so he was the author, being a male, being a very hardcore person, he was ready for what was going to happen next. Oh, please, sir, she asked the curator, may I have my Baba back? Okay, so the lady asked the curator that, please, sir, can you please give me my pair, my pet, my lovely Baba back? Hesitantly, he answered, Madam, he belongs to the zoo and is government property now. Okay, so he said that, Madam, now he is of a part of a zoo and he is now government's property. I cannot give away government property, but if my boss, the superintendent in Bangalore, at Bangalore, agrees, certainly you may have him back. So he says that I cannot give you because he is government property, and if the superintendent who is at Bangalore, if he only agrees, then you may have your bear, your Baba back. There followed the return journey to Bangalore and a visit to the superintendent's bungalow. Okay, then they visited again Bangalore. They came back to Bangalore and they visited the superintendent's bungalow. A tearful pleading, Baba and I are both fretting for each other. Okay, they were very crying, they were heavily crying, they were very distressful. Baba and the lady were both crying and fretting for each other. Will you please give him back to me? She said to the superintendent. The lady said to the superintendent that we both are fretting, we both are missing each other a lot, and will you be so kind and please give him back? He was a kind-hearted man and consented. Okay, he was a very nice fellow. He was a kind-hearted man and he agreed. Not only that, but he wrote to the curator. Okay, not only he agreed, but he wrote to the curator to lend them a cage for transporting the bear to Bangalore. Okay, he also asked the curator to provide a cage so that they can easily take Baba back. Back we went to Mysore again, armed with the superintendent's letter. Okay, the letter was there of superintendent giving the consent to let Baba be with the lady. Baba was driven into a small cage and hoisted on top of the car. The cage was kept on top of the car and Baba was inside that. The cage was tied securely and a slow and careful return journey to Bangalore was accomplished. Okay, so very tightly the cage was there and Baba was very secure inside it, and they very smoothly completed their journey of Bangalore. Once home, a squad of coolies were engaged for special work in a compound. An island was made, okay, for Baba. One island was created for Baba. It was 20 feet long and 15 feet wide. Okay, a big space was used for making an island for the bear, and was surrounded by a dry pit or a moat 6 feet wide and 7 feet deep. A wooden box that once housed fowls was brought. Okay, so what they did after where the island was ending, they made a 6 feet long, 6 feet wide, deep, 6 or 7 feet wide, deep hole kind of a thing, so that the bear cannot come directly to the place where other people are living. Okay. Straw was placed inside to keep him warm and his baby. Okay. So Baba also had a baby now. The gnarled stump along with his gun, the piece of bamboo. Okay. So who was the baby of bear? The bamboo that he used to carry, and he used to act when he was asked, Baba, where is your baby? He used to act like he is cradling a baby. Okay. Both of which had been sentimentally preserved since he had been sent away to the zoo, were put back for him to play with. Okay. In a few days, the coolies hoisted the cage onto the island and Baba was released. He was delighted. Standing on his hind legs, he pointed his gun and cradled his baby. So he was very delighted. He was enjoying with his baby, the bamboo stick. My wife spent hours sitting on a chair there while he sat on her lap. Okay. So my wife spent hours sitting there. He was 15 months old and pretty heavy too. And he was sitting on her lap. The way my wife reaches the island and leaves, it is interesting. Okay, how she goes? Only she goes there because, with her husband, because it is risky for others. So that is why the 6 feet long hole is being dug, because to prevent Baba from coming out. I have tied a rope to the overhanging branch of a mango tree with a loop at its end. Putting one foot in the loop, she kicks off with the other to bridge the 6-foot gap that constitutes the width of the surrounding pit. Okay. So what happens? She swings her way to the island, and the pit is there so that Baba can't come out. The return journey is made the same way, but who can say now that a sloth bear has no sense of affection, no memory, and no individual characteristics? Okay, so who can say that animals are different from human, or they don't have emotions? This story tells us this thing only, that they too have emotions, they too have feelings, they too feel like us. The story is written by Kenneth Anderson. He was a British origin, Indian born author. He was born in India and he was of Britain. Okay, and he wrote many such stories. He was a very famous writer for such small stories. Okay, so here the story concludes, and now I am going to provide you the work, the PDF I am going to send, in which the question answers will be there. You have to do the question answers, and the chapter here concludes. If any doubts are there, you always feel free to ask. I will be happy to help you and solve your queries. So I am Aman from DPS Haldwani Lamachhaur. You are watching PTO classes. Thank you so much for watching the lecture.